Welcome to Carter's Retro Reviews. I was doing a little bit of research earlier, and it turns out that there is this thing called a National Masturbation Day. It is an annual event celebrated on a day in May to protect the right to masturbate. Well, I am one step ahead of you at National Masturbation Day. I celebrate that shit 365 days a year. I don't understand what the big deal is. I mean, is there some sort of convention that's held during this particular day? And if there is, I guess the bigger questions are there rides for this? Are there activities that we could participate in? I mean, it talks about cardiovascular exercise, but let's be honest here, we're all just here to get off and go home. Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo was released the world over, and this doesn't surprise me. What does surprise me is how often this game ends up in people's top 10 or top 20 Sega Saturn games of all time list. It might be the case if you restrict it to PAL releases only, and even then you might want to make it a top 25 or a top 30 perhaps. It's not a bad game, in fact it's quite a good one, but it's a simple, safe arcade port that they just got right. There's no fuck-ups, few options, fewer modes, and very little reason to own it on Saturn unless you own a Saturn and want to collect every game, or you just don't own it on any other console that this came out on. It ended up on the PlayStation, PSP, and a HD remake was done for Xbox 360 and XBLA. I remember playing this game in the arcade. I don't remember where the arcade was, but my brothers and I were completely captivated when we first saw it. My brother was into it more than I, and ended up buying it on Xbox 360. The game grabbed us by the nutsack and held us close so that we would never run away from it like some overly attached girlfriend. I remember this game was a pain in my pulsating rectum to install on PC, which we had a disc up until recently from a freak didgeridoo accident. It's addictive as crack. If you saw my review on Bucku Bucku Animal, this is hardly a stretch from that, although I'll argue till I'm black and blue, this is closer to something along the lines of Columns more than anything else. Having Street Fighter characters in here really doesn't amount to shit, but it's nice to see them do a move when you get rid of a bunch of gems. So when your enemy gets rid of a bunch of gems, he drops a bunch on your side, and you have 5 moves until they become regular gems for you to get rid of. Gameplay is fine and responsive, and load times are acceptable. The sound is nice, you have several modes available to you, and in multiplayer it plays fine. You have the option of choosing Street Fighter characters, Night Warrior characters, and 1 Darkstalker character. You have 3 modes: Arcade, which is as classic as it gets, Versus mode, which involves 2 people battling it out, and Street Puzzle mode. There is very little in the way of story, and whatever there is pretty piss poor. Although to be fair, story was probably the last thing they considered in a game like this. I'm using the word safe a lot in this review, which is an odd choice of word because, well, that is what it is. They haven't done anything special with it. It's not a Saturn exclusive. The game won't be the most expensive Saturn game, although you'd hope that would never be the case, as Saturn games seem to continually rise in price with every passing day. You're probably going to pay a safe $30 plus postage for it. Would I recommend this game?
Yep.
I think that makes this one of the shortest reviews I've ever done. It's a good all-round port from the arcade with 2 modes which are a nice addition, and it's a safe bet because of it. As always, thank you very much for watching. Click on the TV to see the last review, and click on the name underneath the television if you'd like to subscribe.